In today's English class, we'll be analyzing the way the CFO of Mercado Libre presents his financial results. In this analysis, we're going to be looking at two things. Firstly, the vocabulary he uses, and secondly, the way he structures his messaging. Just a reminder, if you like the video, please leave me a message in the comments section. And if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do that. I've also got a free newsletter, English for Accountants. So if you're looking to take your English to that next level, you can find the link in the description of this video.
Welcome back, everybody. Mercado Libre is Latin America's largest company by market value. The e-commerce giant reported earnings that missed estimates. Revenue growth of 34% did beat expectations, but the earnings of $10.31 came in below the $11.93 the street was expecting. Joining us right now to talk more about it is the company's CFO, Martin de los Santos. And, sir, thank you for being with us this morning. Let's talk a little bit about the stock's reaction. It's down 6%. After the earnings were a little disappointing. I know margins were cut into a bit. What happened?
We see here that the revenue was good, but the earnings wasn't what they were expecting. Did you notice they never use the word bad when they're describing financial performance? They use words like missed. The earnings missed estimates. In this case, we're saying that the earnings were lower than what the analysts were expecting. She also uses the word came in below. For example, the earnings of 1031 came in below the 1193 we were expecting. She also said are down. The stocks are down 6%. And lastly, disappointing. The earnings were a little disappointing. So according to the interviewer, a mix of results. Good being the revenue growth, and perhaps bad, the earnings were below what the analysts were expecting. Okay, let's see how the CFO handles this situation. So generally, a good CFO will always try and focus on the good results. And where there is some problematic areas, they generally try and turn it into something positive. So let's see what he says here.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. We are very excited about the results that we've seen in Q2. As you mentioned, revenue is growing 34% year on year. We continue to expand both our e-commerce platform as well as our fintech ecosystem, where we see a tremendous opportunity in Latin America. Number of users continue to grow. 25% in commerce, 30% growth in fintech. Our credit book doubling year on year. GMV, which is a volume transacted on our platform, growing 30% in Mexico and Brazil, our largest markets. So very excited about the results.
So he says here he's excited about the results. Let's look at the things he focuses on. Revenue up 34% year on year. Okay, year on year means compared to the previous period. We have continued to expand both our e-commerce platform as well as our fintech. The number of users has grown. So for the e-commerce platform, it was 25%. And for the fintech, the number of users has grown by 30%. And lastly, he says that their credit book doubled. Okay. So we can see here, the focus is on the good results. Let's see what he says about why his earnings were below expectations, and if he puts a little positive spin on his messaging.
Results. This was a quarter of investment. In order to capture this large opportunity that we have ahead of us, we need to continue investing for the long term. We opened 2 new fulfillment centers this quarter, adding to the more than 30 fulfillment centers that we have in the region. We have the largest and more sophisticated fulfillment infrastructure in Latin America. We also invested in offering free shipping to our users in Brazil. We lowered the threshold by which we offer free shipping to $4. I mean, it came from 79 reais to 19 reais, which is roughly $4. So that's a bold step in terms of eliminating friction for people buying online. And we also continue to invest on the credit card. So I think probably in the short term that put a little pressure on margins, but we are sure, and we have proven over the past several years, that those investments in the long term pay off in order for us to make sure that we do not miss the large opportunities that we have ahead of us.
So the first thing he said, it was a quarter of investment to capture opportunities. Okay, so that's why their earnings were lower than expected. Their costs have increased. So those costs have come from two areas. Firstly, opening up more fulfillment centers, and secondly, because they lowered the threshold to qualify for free shipping. Okay, so the minimum order amount now is much lower than what it used to be, and they're doing that to capture more clients. Okay, so you notice how he spun the message from bad news being cost increase into something positive, capturing more market for the long term. I also like some of the phrases he used in this section. He said it was a bold step to eliminate friction for people buying online. So in this case, bold means courageous or brave, and friction is referring to resistance, making something harder. Okay, so in other words, it was a brave decision to make online shopping easier for people. The second phrase I liked was when he said, in the short term, that will put pressure on our margins, but we're confident that in the long term, those investments will pay off. So here the phrasal verb is pay off. Pay off can mean a few things, but in this sense, it means to have good results. So in other words, investing in the short term will provide good results in the long term. You notice here, everything he says is clear, it's concise, he doesn't overcomplicate the messaging. If you're a non-native English speaker and you want to present results the same way as that CFO did, check out my step-by-step guide in my course, Describing Financial Performance in English. I'll leave the link for you in the description of this video. So what's one thing you should take away from today's class? It's this. When you're presenting financial results, don't focus on numbers in a table, okay? If your audience wanted that information, they don't need you to present it to them. They have it already in a report. Instead, your focus should be on creating a clear, digestible message of the events that drove the result in your business, okay? The same way we saw the CFO from Mercado Libre do, okay? The revenue was up. Why? It's because they invested more in free shipping, which meant that they were able to bring in more customers, okay? Their costs are up. Why? Because they invested more in free shipping, offering that to their clients. They paid that. And they opened up more fulfillment centers, which meant their costs increased, but they were able to serve better their new market, okay? So the next time you have to present financial results, focus more on the messaging rather than reading numbers.